Hey, this is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Shout out to everybody on this fine Tuesday. This is going to be a quick 10-minute stream. I am in the process of having a conversation with somebody, but I hate typing. You know how it goes. After a while, we get tired of typing. Is it just me? So, I was having a conversation with somebody in the comment section about Cynthia G and a video that I did a while back that, I knew, well, I suspected it would get some attention, but it kind of died, and then it kind of got revived. A number of people picked up on it, and basically, I said that many of these female content creators turn my stomach. Okay, and the reason why I titled it that way is because when I listen to the rhetoric of a Cynthia G or uh, a Nyla or a whoever, a Nyla, a Woman's Fear, or Crystalline Kerosene, or something like this. Tonya TKO, obviously now we've got Chris Logic and all these different females out here. I never said that they're wrong about everything, because they're not wrong about everything. There are many things that you can say objectively they're right about. Okay, for example, if a man kills a woman, then a man killed a woman. It's not a narrative to say a man killed a woman if what actually happened. Okay, but it's different to say a man killed a woman and the reason he did it is because he hates black women, versus a man killed a woman because maybe he hates black women, but there were signs that the man was dangerous from the beginning. And as I said before, there was a there was a it looks like I'm reading the comment now. It looks like a Tanya scam TKO. Um, you know, so I was trying to get across to this person that at the end of the day, people have the right first and foremost to make whatever content they want to make. If that's your truth and that's what gets you paid or whatever, or that's what you're passionate about, I'm not going to say you have no right to make that content, obviously. But the thing about it is this: my personal stance is, as an influencer, is your content helping or hurting people? And what we find a lot of the time with a lot of this female BWE so-called content, it's not really empowering the women it's supposedly helping, because at the end of the day, all it does is create fear. Okay, fear of black men, fear of relationships. I mean, I'm watching some of these people talking about the content that they're watching, and they're like, I don't want to be in a relationship, I just want to be single. And we know that women are more likely to be in poverty. A lot of these women are not single and celibate, they're going to live in a nunnery or something where they're just they're just by themselves, keeping themselves to themselves. No, they're still having children. They're still, whatever. They're still sleeping with different guys. Maybe they have children and they're bringing those men in around their children and things like that. So it's one thing to say, I don't want to date because I'm scared or whatever. That's understandable. But it's a completely different thing to be like, I'm going to just basically give up on men and dating and relationship. That's kind of like a scarcity mindset. That's kind of like a fear uh, mentality. Okay. And so I understand what people might say, like, oh, well, you talk about negative things from black women, like about black women. But my thing is this: let's talk about the root of the problem. The root of the problem for a lot of modern women is a lack of female guidance. It's things like mothers who didn't do their due diligence when it came to the way they created their so called families. Instead of making sure that their children were born in stable environments, they gave birth to their children in unstable environments. They created situations where these young girls were not protected. And unfortunately, in many of these instances, these girls are, having problems with their femininity. They're having problems with their with their relationships, sometimes with their children, because they believe they believe a message that's not correct. There's so many narratives out here, um, at the hands of these of just modern women in general, that, as we know, is very much driven by feminism. Okay, many of these women, they have a mentality that a woman is equal or same as a man. She needs the same thing that a man needs, and it's basically they're essentially the same creature. That men care about your accomplishments academically or your career. That you don't need a man, you can just do battle by yourself. And again, you don't want to take this thing out of proportion, because no one is saying you should be uneducated and not be an adult having a job or anything like that. But what people are saying is, if you're going into a romantic situation, your accomplishments don't count for much, because your job is not teaching you how to be a good spouse. I'm not saying that nothing you learn in a job is transferable as a skill to being a partner or a spouse, in this particular situation, a wife. But at the end of the day, for the most part, it's not. Because first and foremostly, a job is taking you away from your family when you need to be spending time with your family. If you have children, obviously they need you a lot. So they need you a lot. So shout out to Pip Pip Cheerio. Shout out to Celine George in the building. No one is wrong about everything. I have agreed with Karazin once or twice. I'd be foolish to say everything was wrong. Shout out to That's Nice in the building. I understand it's hard to be a man these days. It's like 30 forms of birth control. Yeah, I think even if it's like 20 something, it's still a lot. I advocate for abstinence, but at least be responsible and don't bring children into the world when you're not married. And that's the thing. A lot of the rhetoric that I hear the women putting out, it doesn't lead to a good end for the women themselves. Okay, and so, for example, we know recently, not Crystalline, Cynthia G was talking about abort black male babies. But the thing about it is this: abortion can actually make you infertile. If you have too many, it can erode your fallopian tubes. That's what somebody said in the comment section, which is maybe why. Like, having too many abortions can, increase the chances of you having complications in pregnancy when you actually want to conceive. So how can you say you're helping or empowering black women when you're robbing them of the opportunity to have their own children? Obviously, at the end of the day, you can choose not to listen to information. Okay, if no one is forcing you to watch YouTube, so we're all accountable to the channels that we choose to watch. But on the flip side, for people who are lost looking for answers, they run to these platforms, and then they take every word as though it's gospel. They take every word as though, like, they hang off it hook, line, and sinker. The problem with that is, obviously, if the people giving the information are speaking from a perspective of hurt and pain and basically just contempt, then all they're going to do is teach you to speak from a perspective of hurt, pain, and contempt. Because these women are not necessarily speaking from personal experiences, but things that they've heard. For example, I know Chrissy is one of the more balanced of these women. For example, Chrissy's father was a womanizer. Okay, he was a womanizer. He had a lot of children by a lot of different women, and as a result, and from what I watched in one of her videos, it seemed like, I don't know if he passed away or there was some type of family situation. And then you have all these half siblings coming together. You know how it goes. There's a funeral or something, and family that you haven't seen in 2 decades come out of the woodwork like worms. They all want a piece of the action because all of a sudden they remember that you're blood related. But up until that point, they really didn't give a damn. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it was a situation where, Chrissy's father, he had his favorite, wife and child set of kids, and maybe Chrissy's set was not the favorite set. And so what happened was Chrissy's narrative is very much influenced by the fact that she has unresolved daddy issues. This is the same for Cynthia G. Cynthia G's father was a drug addict. Everybody knows that he had an addiction to I think it was crack cocaine, which is why she says you can be married and still live like a single woman, because she witnessed her mother having to do everything as a married woman because her father was too busy chasing drugs. Okay. So, for you or me who maybe didn't have a father like that, why are you subscribing to a rhetoric that gives the illusion that that's everybody's life? Like, just because you're married, you're going to still end up like a single mother doing it by yourself. So, this is the danger that I personally see with this rhetoric, that in always kind of looking for the worst case scenario, sometimes you create it. When you have women saying men are only good for sex, well, then that's how you end up getting into a situation where you're with a man who's dangerous and volatile, but you stay because the sex is good. Because in your mind, the only thing the man is good for is the sex. And so it's like, how can I say? I'm trying to think. I don't know how to really explain it, but it's like, I don't even know. Ugh, I can't even think of a situation. It's just like, if you don't know certain things are wrong, you're going to operate within your frame of mind. For example, if you grow up in poverty and you grow in a certain community or society where certain things are just normal, to you, the prospect of living another way, for example, doesn't even cross your mind because you've never really seen it, you've never really experienced it. And so, for people who, grew up in dysfunction, they can't maybe picture what it feels like or what it looks like or what you have to do to be in a relationship that's functional. Okay. So if you have a platform where you're talking about marriage, love, relationships, and instead of teaching these women how to select good mates, you spend all day making them hyper focused on so called dusties, that's not helping them. That's not helpful to them because they already have an idea what it means to deal with dusties. So what they need help with is how to rise above the dusty. It's like I say all the time, if you're in a car and the car is going off the track, I mean, I don't know how to really describe it, but the bottom line is this: when you focus on something, that is what you're going to attract. So, what is the point of talking about dusties all day when you want to attract a quality man? It's like, okay, I used the example of the shoelace. There are millions of ways to screw something up. There are only a handful of ways to do it the right way. Even if there were 100 ways to tie your shoelace, there's a million ways of doing something that's not tying your shoelace. Okay, so like, swinging the shoe around your head, throwing it out the window, feeding it to a dog, these are all ways not to tie a shoelace. But why would I focus on the millions of wrong things when I can just focus on the right thing? And the answer is because the right thing is boring. The right thing takes work. The right thing takes self reflection, bringing it back to the whole relationship situation. But the wrong thing is countless hours of material. Talking about a man who kills his girlfriend, talking about men who beat their wives, talking about men who cheat, talking about men who who are broke and the woman is making more money than them and things like this. This is an endless amount of material. You always have things to talk about because there's always going to be situations like this. It's kind of like celebrity gossip. If you do celebrity gossip type content, you will always have things to talk about because there's always going to be celebrities. Why? Because celebrities create money for the industry. So it's in the industry's best interest to always be looking for so-called talent. I know a lot of people don't have that nowadays, but okay, whatever. We call it talent, quote unquote. And so as long as there's new talent, there's new stories for you to talk about. Okay? Talking about negativity sells. People like talking about their pain and their trauma, but what good is talking about your trauma if you're not really getting healing for that trauma or a resolution? So for me, I'm like, I understand you've been through this. A lot of us have been through different things, but you have to kind of move past it and you have to be accountable. In being accountable for your actions, we're not asking you to take blame. We're not saying take blame for something that you had no control over. We're talking about be accountable for what you could control. If you could control who you dated, for example, why are you basically making out like you were a hapless victim in the situation? Because you weren't. Okay. If you were if you have, like, for example, I was going to do a little video on this concept of the so-called uh black male worship, this kind of pseudo intellectual buffoonery that Cynthia G coined. It doesn't even really make sense, because what she's trying to say is, because a handful of white boys want to wear socks with slippers and flipping throw a ball and sag their pants, somehow this is black male worship. Or women deliberately making sure their sons are non-productive members of society so that they can ultimately be the next generation of son husbands. It's like, that's not worship, that's deliberate sabotage. So it's so insidious, because at the end of the day, you're calling something that is ultimately harming a person worship. But here is the mind screw, okay? Yes, coddling a person, it feels nice in the short term, it destroys them in the long term. It's not really worship, but whatever you're doing, you still should stop it. And it's like, this is how they play these whole Jedi mind tricks on people. Okay, the whole concept of black male worship is goofy and doesn't exist. It's something that doesn't exist. How can you worship black men but black boys can't read? If you lived in a society that worshiped black males, you would see black men on top everywhere, and you would see them oppressing women everywhere. And before people say, oh, well, these women are getting killed by black men, well, most white women are killed by white men. Most Asian women are killed by Asian men. Most, Jewish women are killed by Jewish men. Most Arab women are killed by Arab men. So that's nothing unique to black men, first and foremostly. Okay? But the thing about it is this: the black male is not even black male worship. That's the name they have given it to justify basically you being horrible to black men. It's like, anytime you're nice to a black man, you are now allegedly engaging in black male worship. So stop. So they're teaching you basically to justify being nasty to black males. First and foremostly, for what? Like, if you have like sons, uncles, cousins, why would you just be nasty to them because they're male? That doesn't make any sense. Now, should black women stop allowing their sons to fall by the wayside? Yes, but that is not worship. That is sabotage. So what they label as black male worship isn't even worship. It's like a completely wrong word. The word is sabotage. You deliberately have children for low value men who don't want children, men who don't have the capacity to be fathers, men who don't want to be involved in their children's life. That's sabotage strike number one. Then on top of it, you don't even make sure they can read. That's strike number two. You don't have the money to enrich their lives. Strike number three. You're out here looking for baby dad, step daddies, and talking about, I'm going to thrust my kid onto uncles and other guys. That's strike number like 15. Some of these kids are being abused. They're being killed by these boyfriends and partners and things like that. That's like strike 600. So we're not talking about a culture of worship. We're talking about a culture of systemic failing of black boys. That's why I was thinking about this comment that this chick put the other day, Sunday, about, black women, they love their daughters, and they what? I can't even remember. There's so many different ways people say it. Some people say, they raise their daughters and love their sons or something. And it's just like, whichever way you rephrase that thing, it just doesn't make any sense. Because first and foremostly, we don't really see productive black women. So you can't say that black mothers are overall producing like a culture of really functional black women, let alone black men. Um, these women are not raising their daughters. They're masculinizing their daughters. That's what they're actually doing. They're making their daughters like men, telling them they need to basically have a job and focus on your career, and basically you don't need a man, and make sure you have your own, and yada yada yada. What you are doing is making your daughters like men. You're making them unable to basically have a functioning relationship, which is why you need 100 freaking femininity channels telling you from everything from how to do your hair and wash your own body to basically how to be a woman, which should to a degree come innately to you. If you were being raised to be a feminine woman, we wouldn't need a woman sector telling you how to be feminine. So how do you work out the female sector is about anything? It's just like, when you look at the evidence, it's clear that the women are not getting the right information in their homes. That's why they're failing. So this person, anyway, I'm struggling. I can't even put these thoughts into a coherent type of something, because the women deny the obvious because they don't want to take accountability. And this is why I have an issue with this concept of the so-called sisterhood, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make out that any type of criticism of a black woman is somehow breaking the code. But that code is the very code that keeps a lot of black women down. Because if you feel like telling a black woman the truth is somehow being off code, you're basically, so how do you claim to love somebody but you see they're failing, and instead of helping them to be better, you lie to them further? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why I make the content. So I said, like, my content's gonna offend the thin skinned, because at the end of the day, I think I'm pretty fair and balanced. But of course, it hurts to hear that, your mother let you down. Like, she wasn't a good mother because what she told you, it didn't help you. Okay? Okay, you got a job and you've got a career, fine. But in terms of you being a feminine woman that can attract the kind of man you claim to want, how is talking about struggle trash bag dusties all day helping you to get that goal? If you say you want a high value man, a high caliber man, a high quality man, a good man, a nice man, a man with character, I don't know which expression I'm not supposed to use. So let me just throw all of them out there, because I use the word high value. Somebody starts to spontaneously combust somewhere. Oh my God, you're using the Kevin Samuels. Oh, high value man. Oh, we wasn't talking about high value man. So, okay, so you want a decent man, and he's got a bit of money and he's got a bit of character. Let's just stick with that, okay? If that's what you say as a woman you want, why are you listening to somebody telling you abort your black male sons? First and foremostly, how did the son get in there? Why is your leg open for a man you don't want to have his baby? That already, the situation makes no sense. If you just think about it, the whole conversation is like a freaking circus show. It doesn't make any freaking sense. You can do what you want. It's your body, it's your womb, it's your mind. But at the end of the day, let it make sense. We want to end a culture of black male worship, but your leg is open for the same black men you complain about. Oh, if you have a child I don't trust, this is Cynthia G. I don't trust anything that comes out of a white womb. Okay, but you're going to open your leg for the white man to give you a mixed child. You said that the child is black because the mother is black. Okay, that means if you have a biracial son, you have now given birth to yet again a black son. No or yes? Because you were the one that said it's the black womb that makes the child black, not the black seed. Contradiction. Contradiction much. You don't want to be in a relationship with a man that's abusive, and just because he's got money, he shouldn't oppress you. Then you get a broke man. Oh, this is why all these black women are in hypogamous relationships, and they're dealing with all these dusties and these struggle dusties. There's no good black men. First point. 5 minutes later, all the good black men are with white women. Which one is it? Are they don't exist, or they're with white women? It's just like, I don't care what you want to do, just make it make sense. You cannot say two opposing things and then somehow try to make out like these things don't contradict each other. That's all I'm saying. This is why they turn my stomach, because they don't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? If I'm saying to you, be accountable, it's not because I'm saying that the man doesn't have to be accountable. This is not a zero-sum game where it's all or nothing. It's either all the woman's fault or all the man's fault. No, we all have to be accountable for the things we chose to do. But at the same time, it's like if you just have a victimhood mentality, guess what? The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to keep making bad decisions because you feel like everything is somebody else's fault. It's never your fault. That's all I'm saying. It's not about being responsible for something you couldn't control. It's about taking responsibility for what you could control. It's that simple. Okay. So am I saying that you shouldn't report on things? For example, if you in the women's sector, and I gotta go, I had to go like 15 minutes ago. Like, for example, in the women's sector, they talk about black men killing black women, but yet there have been a multitude of situations where white men have killed black women and they don't report on it. There's been a multitude of situations where uh, white men have killed the children of their partners, but yet these women don't speak on that either. So the question has to be, how are you supposedly trying to help these women, but you don't tell the whole story? You just cherry pick stories that make black men look bad, even though it's not true, because you have men of all races killing their own women, and you have a lot of stories of black women being negligent, allowing white men to kill even their own children. Oh, stop. Oh, sorry. I need to sprint away, bro, because I'm getting tired. This guy's too hard to kill. So, speaking of killing, so it's a ridiculous story. Like, how can you have so many situations where these men are killing black women, sugar babies turning up dead in cars, white men beating the child to death and leaving the decomposing corpse in the house with the other children. Like, anything that makes black women or white men look bad, these women deliberately don't touch those stories. And that's problematic, because you're putting out a false narrative that the only person who harms black people is black men. But in a lot of stories where black women are the offenders, these women don't want to talk about it. And even when they do, they somehow try to paint the narrative that it's still the black man's fault why the woman did what she did, which is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous. How is it when the man does something wrong, it's his fault, but when the woman does something wrong, it's also the man's fault? So there's a lack of intellectual honesty in that sector. There's a lack of intellectual honesty in that sector that puts women at harm, because they think they can say or do anything to anybody, and somehow the black man will always take the blame for it. And then this is my last point, and then I really have to go. But if you're going to divest, why don't you just leave already? Like, why do you keep hovering around like a fly on a freaking turd? If you've got a nice white man, just go sail off in the sunset with that white man and go be happy. Why are you always hanging around in black spaces talking about black people? If you've so-called divested, just leave. You know, these women are lying when they make out like they're divesting, because a lot of them cannot divest because the kind of culture that they're bringing with them, a lot of the men that they want will not tolerate it. Again, these women are living vicariously through these female content creators who in many instances are not even living the life that they're trying to sell you. They just use victimhood and trauma as a way to keep you coming back, because people like complaining. Everybody, let's just be real, a lot of people like complaining. We feel good when we have a good moan about something, but the problem with complaining is it doesn't bring solutions. Just because you complain enough about something doesn't mean it's going away. Oh, God. Oh, oh. I don't know why this guy can't die, bruv. I swear down. So it just is what it is. So for the person who asked me, like, why do I make my content, and do I feel like I'm any different basically to Cynthia G? Like, am I different to Cynthia G? Am I different to the women because I'm sharing my truth? There's whole truth and there's half truth. And what is your truth telling supposed to accomplish? You can say, oh, I'm raising awareness, but you're not really offering a solution, because the things you're calling a solution are not even real solutions. They're doing more harm to the people who listen to you than actually helping them. It's just ridiculous. There are black girls, I never did anything to her, never said boo. Basically, she wanted to make trouble. And the irony is, I wanted to talk about how God favors her. Like, get out of here. She doesn't trust anything from a white womb. However, she trusts white men. Where do they come from? And exactly, how can you say you don't trust anything that comes from a white womb, but then you allegedly had a white man on your platform, or two of them actually, talking about how awful black men are? So, the contradictions are too much. And it's like, oh, well, she's saying things that are hurting black men's feelings. That's why black men are up in arms. They're not really up in arms because you're exposing certain truths, like they don't want the truth to be told. They're upset about the fact that you skew the narrative to paint a certain picture. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. Just be intellectually honest. But a lot of the time, they're not going to be honest because they create some new to basically justify continuing to be defiant, to be rebellious, to be single mothers, to sleep with the men they're sexually attracted to, even when they clearly have nothing to offer. They just use all these funky terms to basically justify their bad decision making. And that's harmful to the women who listen to them. Talking about sugar babying, we know Shira 7 was talking about how to finesse and lie to men. But some of these men will take you out when they find out you're lying. So why would you encourage women to lie to men and try to finesse money out of them when you know some of these men are dangerous? Does it make more sense to tell them to be hoes and finesse on the gram? Or does it make more sense to tell them, you know, you have to be careful and don't entertain men you're not interested in? Don't get me wrong, whether or not you're interested or not, there are just some crazy people out there. But you're probably more in danger trying to be slick, pretending that you you like this guy when you're trying to get money out of him, then you are just being courteous and saying to somebody, I'm not interested, thank you, but no thank you. So it's goofy to sit around all day pretending that, you know, black women are not killing their kids, or black women are not allowing their boyfriends to touch their children because she wants companionship. It's goofy to pretend like these white men haven't been on a killing spree in 2021 of black women. It's ridiculous to just sweep all of that under the rug. And every time you try to bring it up, the only thing they can say is, well, you know, how many times have a black man killed a black woman? Oh, why are you talking about this? Or again, like, oh, you guys have fake concern. Listen, all these swirlers and divestors, I don't really hear anybody for the most part saying they were concerned. Okay, no one said that. Not to say that no one's concerned, but it's already happened. People already told you, do not deal with these white men, do not finesse them, do not go on these random bumble dates with them. If you still go on the date, what do you want anybody to do? Like, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. You were already told, stay away from the Pookie, stay away from the Ray Ray. If you end up getting shot up in a shootout, why are you complaining? Why? Bro, it don't make no sense. Oh, you guys are on the internet with your fake concern. Ain't nobody concerned. We're not concerned. We're just saying, look, we warned you, and then we told you, and you didn't listen, and this is what happened. Okay? No one's fake concerned. And no one's running the street looking for these people either. That's what the police is there for. The police get paid to go look for the person that killed these women. But no one's concerned. Okay? They always try to flip it. If you turn around and say, we are sorry that these black women have lost their lives. Oh, look, these guys, they don't really care. They're just putting up fake concern. If you say, look, we told you so. Oh, see, they're glad she was killed. It's like, you can't say anything. But when you said don't do it in the first place, oh, who are you trying to control? They don't want us to expand our options, and they don't want us to have a better life. They're just upset we're not replicating their image. Da, da, da. That's why a lot of them just leave you alone. They don't even look at you. They don't talk to you. They just let you do what you want to do. I'm walking down the street looking like a mad person shouting. But that's what it is. Like, it's not a case of it's not a case of there's absolutely no feeling. Of course, a lot of black men, they feel that it's tragic, but at the end of the day, you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. If you're telling these black women, stay away from these white men, some of them don't really like you like that. They only want to use you sexually because the image of the black woman is a certain type of way. They're going to just, like, you know, pass you around and discard you. They don't really respect you. Even if they sleep with you, they're not going to wife you. How many decades do you guys need to hear that? And then you're still talking about, oh, you just don't want us to expand our options. Oh, we're just going to go and get a brat. Oh, we're swelling, we're divesting. Okay, well then do you, boo. But if that white man kills you, bro, there's nothing anybody can do once you've already been killed. Nothing. No one is trying to stop you from expanding your options. The problem is the way you pick men is trashing the black community and trashing the white community. That's why you get the same kind of trashy ass white man that you had with the black man. Oh. This is what happens when I don't do an intro. I'm joking. You know, it's off the chain when there's no intro, bro. I just like, forget this. This is like, just hit live. And we're not saying like it's not tragic. It is tragic. But at the same time, these women are like, I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want a guy who's steady Eddie. I don't want a guy who's boring. I need a drug dealer, thug killer. But same dude who's about that life, one day he's going to be about that life with you. Because he hasn't got principle. He doesn't care. God damn it, man. It's too much. And then obviously the next thing is this. How can you be so damn old and this is so hard for you to understand? We're not talking about, 15 and 19-year-olds. I could have understood if this was somebody who was 20, especially these days. Once upon a time, 20 seemed old. But nowadays, even people in their late 20s and 30s, they're still on some goofy high school BS. Okay? But these are women pushing 40. Once upon a time, when you were 40, your children were about to go to college. And you was about to get your life back. Been married how much years? Talking about when I retire in a couple of decades and we're going to go sit in the park and do some gardening and go on a cruise. Now 40, the women are twerking and on the table, on the chair, on the car, on the police car, trying to outcompete their own daughters in a crazy way. But no, let me talk to the women, seriously. Let's talk to the women seriously. How can you be looking for something quality and you're listening to somebody who spends all day calling people a trash bag? Like, no, come on, talk to me. How? How, Sway? How? What do you get as a woman who's aspiring to be somebody of quality talking about, oh, that nigga's a trash bag. Oh, that nigga's a trash bag, Dusty, struggle Dusty. They look like this, he look. What kind of man are you going to attract when you talk like this? Are you going to attract a man who's put together? Or are you going to actually attract a feminine, emotional Dusty who thinks that's funny? Yeah, boo. Oh, tell him. Yeah, get him. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, that's the kind of goofball you're going to attract with that kind of rhetoric. You're being played. You're being set up. And I'll tell you the next thing, right? I don't even blame them. You see the women who go there and they get that kind of content and they like it, that's your level. So if you get finessed, if you get bad information, if you get scammed, we hear a woman's fear crying about how Nyla and Taz apparently doxed her, and she with her goofy ass went back to them to try and befriend them. Why the hell would you, if you have half a functioning brain cell, would go to the people who took your information you guys are a different set of people. You guys are a different set of people. I don't know if I muted it or they muted it, but bro, all I know is this. When you put the person's information out there, you're basically saying, come to my house and burn it down with me inside. Because that's like a death wish out here. What are you doing? And then you have Woman's Fear with her big boo-hooing. Oh, I told Nyla I only spoke to Cynthia for emotional support. Yeah. What emotional support when the two of them are like bench and batty and best friend? What emotional support are you going to Cynthia G for and that's her best friend? And she put your information out there and them two are still friends. And you with your low self-esteem is going over there begging for friendship. And when they turn on you now, you're crying on the internet for sympathy from who? You're looking for support from the person who calls people trash bag for a living. Yo, if you guys can't see there's a problem, even I can't help you, even Jesus can't help you. Jesus has to go in the mud and try and make you maybe 2 set of eyes. He has to spit in the mud and make 4 eyes and put all of them in your head because you're clearly blind. Ray Charles can see that these people have no integrity, but there's women's fear crying on the internet for sympathy, talking about, I just wanted me and Nana to be friends. And then black women wonder why no one can take them serious. Are you kidding? Bro, too much for me, too much. So this chick should have never asked me this question about, oh, what's my message trying to do, bro? We're not saying that some black men ain't trash out here and they don't deserve to be under the jail, of course. But that's the same for some women and men and women of all races. Wickedness is just universal. It's not unique to just black men. But let that sector tell it, you think it was. And that's my problem. It's just goofy. Stop it, one said the voices. Because when I hear her whining and crying on the internet, that's all I hear. And I'm thinking, this person disrespected you the most disrespectful ways while sleeping with your man and just plastered it like wallpaper on the house called the internet for everybody to know your damn business. And this is the person you then try to befriend. I'm not even going to use a bad analogy, but that's like a person who does dark crime and afterwards you try to befriend them. Oh, thank you so much for assaulting me. Can we be best friends now? It's like, who does that where? A person with self-respect would know this person was dangerous. But this is a flock of pigeons. Just crew, 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 all over the damn place. So seeing as we're here, oh, Crystalline Kerrison talking about she was gonna kill herself. That's another cry for help. She's not gonna be on YouTube no more. Tutus, you see her on a panel somewhere. Chrissy said she's not trying to work with them no more because they're just too contrary. So you tell me how you're learning to be part of a sisterhood when even the pioneers of the sisterhood can't get on. Mr. Uganda said I sound unleashed. Yeah, basically somebody came in my comment section about a video that I did about a year and a half ago where I said I don't like female content creators because a lot of the ones that are really popular, in my opinion, they're dangerous, they turn my stomach. And this person was like, what's wrong with telling your truth? And it's like, to what end? Are you telling the truth to spin a narrative? Are you telling a truth to help people? Or what? And so this is kind of this video part 2, where I did ask the person if they want to come through, but he said, I'm trying to put them back. Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes to get paid, they're going to say it. And to be honest with you, you can't blame them because unfortunately, a lot of black women, they don't want to do better. That's the other side of the coin. Crystalline Kerrison, she was run off YouTube. As bad as it be, love her or hate her, April Mason, Ayanna Van Zandt, Brooklyn Blue, they all made the same complaint that these women don't want to be helped. They like doing what they want to do, but then afterwards they complain about the outcomes. So to an extent, you can't even blame them for recognizing that there's no point trying to give people constructive tools if the only thing they want to do is what they're going to do. So as a result, you know, I don't even, to an extent, I don't pay them any mind. The people who want to listen to them and be bitter and spend all day fighting each other, because that's all the sector is: responding to each other, fighting, calling people names, taking people's content out of context, chatting like a bunch of 15-year-old schoolgirls. All of that is not helping anybody. But if that's what you want, man, you're free. If you like it, I love it. So with that being said, uh, I'm already hella late, but I still have to go where I'm going. So I really appreciate everybody who came through. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Don't share it, because this is the first video I'm going to delete, because this is hella crazy talk. And I hope the person who asked me the question in the comment section, they came through and they were able to hear what I wanted to say. And if they missed it, they kind of just missed it. All right, guys, have a good day. I'm out. Peace.